Shall we start?
Yes.
How long you know Dr. Saritina?
Probably approximately 10 to 12 years.
So you knew her pretty well.
Yes.
What was the reason you chose Dr. Saritina to come to interview Miss Lee?
To provide additional input about the assessment of risk regarding your case in preparation for the court hearing, and to try to make sure that we're providing the right diagnosis and treatment.
But why you choose Saritina?
Dr. Sorrentino has specialty expertise in forensic psychiatry risk assessment, and has provided such assessment on numerous occasions for many other patients on our unit. And so she was both an expert and skilled and known to us as a good clinical psychiatrist.
Do you think the interview to Miss Lee need a forensic? Some things involve forensic.
We felt like we wanted to bring the greatest expertise to the case to provide the best care, and since she both had seen you previously and knew you from earlier and had this special expertise, it seemed like the best possible kind of consultation.
How many forensic psychiatrists in mental section back to that time?
I'm not sure which mental section you're talking about.
MGH.
In the entire department of psychiatry, there are probably, my estimate would be 5.
So you choose, why you picked up Dr. Saritina?
She's the forensic psychiatrist we almost always use. She's the person who typically consults to the inpatient unit.
Oh, so all the other psychiatrists, they don't work, they don't consultant, they were not being consulted in the inpatient.
Not typically. Most of their
So
work is
she
out
was the only one available. Is that how you felt?
No.
No? Or could you choose other doctors?
Yes.
And in your experience, Dr. Saritina has a very good skill and a very good reputation.
Yes.
Dr. Huffman, if you can see, this is information I downloaded from a website, internet. This is a review, patient's review. If Miss Lee type in or anyone type in Dr. Saritina's name, it come out. 5 reviews, but I only printed out the first page, included 4 reviews. The 5th review is an advertisement, has nothing to do with this. So 4 reviews, 2 of them negative. If you can read through the last line, if you can read it.
The part where whatever person said this doctor is a pothead with 8 exclamation points.
Can you say it again?
This doctor is a pothead with 7 or 8 exclamation points.
I know pothead is not good word, but what it means, if you can explain.
It is sometimes just used as a derogatory phrase, a mean phrase. Sometimes it is used to say that the person takes drugs, marijuana in particular.
Okay, so well, it doesn't make sense to me. But if you can read through the, let me see. If you can read through the second review, please. Just one line more.
Doctors are just like politicians. They never want to admit their mistakes or what they did wrong until they get caught. This doc is just like that, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Huffman. Have you ever heard a patient complain about Dr. Saratina?
No.
No? So, nobody submit you some negative about Dr. Saratina?
No.
Thank you. So do you remember at the same time you assigned Dr. Saratina come to interview Ms. Lee? Did Ms. Lee specifically ask you a Chinese doctor, a Chinese speaking doctor come?
Yes. I recall that you had requested a Chinese psychiatrist. I don't remember the timing.
Okay, why you still send Dr. Saratina?
We sent Dr. Sorrentino because she had special expertise in risk assessment, and the current issue in our minds was about the assessment of your risk.
But do you know what language Dr. Saratina speaks?
Yes.
What it is?
English.
And you still did not assign a Chinese doctor to Ms. Lee back to that time.
Correct.
Then, okay, could it be the timing issue? You limited Ms. Lee the access to any other doctors speak in her own language. You just keep submitting English-speaking doctor, then collected all the diagnosis, support your diagnosis, but limited the timing. Do not let Chinese doctor to access Ms. Lee. Is that your intentional, or is that some regular plan?
Objection, you can answer.
Our approach was to try to provide you the best possible care. To provide you the best possible care, we tried to bring the greatest expertise. We had an expert in risk assessment and forensic psychiatry that we trusted and knew well, and so we assigned her to help understand best what was going on.
So you provided the best service you can. Is this best service? Does this best service not include the mother language evaluation?
Objection, you can answer.
Of the forensic psychiatrists available, none of them spoke Chinese as their mother language, and you, as we've discussed, were able to communicate and comprehend quite clearly in English, and I felt very comfortable, and the treatment team felt very comfortable with your comprehension of English and with Dr. Sorrentino's ability to provide us an expert consultation.
Okay, another question. How do you think Ms. Lee's English now?
Quite comprehensible.
Compared to the level, if you can, compared to the level back to that time. Different or same?
Similar.
Similar. Okay, back to the topic about Dr. Saratina. Is this interview was this, how to say, did this interview need forensic interview? Belong to forensic area?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Are you sure?
You've asked that. Okay.
And did Dr. Saratina tell you this interview did not need forensic? She never tell you? Do you understand my question?
Yeah, I don't recall her saying that.
And did she tell you This interview to Miss Lee could be any doctor.
I don't recall her saying that.
Okay, thank you. You know you rejected Dr. Yang's opinion because you believe Dr. Yang spent short term,
No,
correct?
no.
No? And could you by any chance assign Dr. Yang come back second time, be more accurate? You never thought about it.
Objection, you can answer.
I don't recall.
You don't recall. So you specifically limited Miss Lee's communication tightly in English.
No.
Sorry, I didn't get Mrs. communication.
Tightly. Do you understand what I mean?
Yes, and the answer is no.
Can you repeat my question?
No, he doesn't repeat
No, you are not
questions.
able to repeat my question.
Yeah, I'm not allowing him
Because
to answer.
because you don't understand my question fully.
You have to repeat your question. You can't have him repeat a question. That's not proper.
Did
or
somebody
we could have the stenographer read it back if you want.
did somebody tell you never repeat my question?
I'm
No.
instructing him not to repeat your question. If he has an issue with it, he'll ask you to repeat it or rephrase it himself. He's not reading back what your question is.
Then how is this a way how you make sure you fully understand my question?
You're quite clear, I feel able to understand your questions.
But I could feel you don't understand my question clearly.
That's not a question. That's your interpretation.
And if you can find a way to make sure you understand my question, to show you understand my question, no.
That's not a question.
Okay, let's move on. You committed Miss Lee in the hospital. What's the purpose?
I didn't commit Miss Lee in the hospital.
I mean, you filed a petition,
Objection.
correct?
I didn't file the petition, no.
Okay, but you involved the hearing,
Yes,
which means you committed.
no.
Objection.
Then who committed Miss Lee?
The judge.
The judge. So did Miss Lee say something wrong? When Miss Lee told you, you committed means Dr. Huffman committed Miss Lee.
The judge commits patients, I don't commit patients.
But in Miss Lee's mind, it was Dr. Huffman committed Miss Lee.
Objection. I'm going to object to having
Was
an opinion
okay.
on what
No.
your thought
No,
process
no.
is.
Was
it's a legal
that
term
okay?
of art.
Was that a miscommunication? What was that a delusion?
Objection. Don't answer that question. He's not here to do a mental assessment on you today as to whether you're delusional or not. If you're asking him a
Okay. Do you think Miss Lee understand the committing system fully?
In my opinion, you understood that you had a hearing for commitment and that after the commitment hearing that you were committed and ultimately required to take antipsychotic medications. You had a very good understanding of the key facts of the case to the degree that any other patient would.
You think Miss Lee quite understand the commitment?
Yes, I'm sorry, yes.
But if Miss Lee quite understand the process of commitment, why Miss Lee Do you? Okay, because you read through the medical record when you became the doctor for Miss Lee. So you read through the medical record, correct?
Yes.
And did you know Miss Lee gave the authorization to submit to request medical record from Emerson Hospital?
I don't recall.
You don't recall. But in the hearing, did Miss Lee said the diagnosis from Emerson Hospital was post-traumatic stress disorder?
I don't recall.
You did not recall. So, you, like what you said, Miss Lee quite understand the process of commitment.
Is there a question? Is there a question?
Yeah, say
I'm
yes
sorry.
or no.
You don't have to answer yes or no. You've already answered that question, but you can answer it again.
Okay. Yes, you understood the process of commitment.
Did Miss Lee, did Miss Lee happy to be committed or not happy to be committed?
Not happy.
Not happy. So, did Miss Lee did not want to be committed? Then why did Miss Lee answer your question back to the time in the hospital?
Objection. If you understand the question, you can answer.
If you could rephrase the question, that would be great.
Why Miss Lee answered most questions you asked in the hospital?
You're asking.
I cannot say.
Yeah.
You cannot say.
You're asking about mental judgment for somebody else. He's here to
No,
answer
no,
a
no.
question about his own
I
opinions.
asked the fact.
No.
I
You're asking
asked-
about your own mental impressions. He can only testify as to what he knows and what his opinions were at the time that he was treating you. He can't go into your mind and say
Oh,
what your
okay. Then let's change your way. You meet Miss Lee every day back to that time.
Yes.
How many minutes did you know for each time?
I don't know
generally?
exactly.
Would it be 5 minutes?
Longer than 5 minutes typically.
Do you really think longer?
That is the typical time for rounds. I cannot say with specificity 5 years, 6 years back.
Okay. Because Miss Lee took some tape record, you probably think longer than 5 because you worked as a team. Do you remember every day you talked to Miss Lee, then Miss Lee left, correct?
Yes.
Then after Miss Lee left, what did you do? What did the team do?
I can't answer specifically for the exact specifications of your case, but I can
But
discuss in general.
generally, yeah, generally.
After a patient were to step out, we would discuss the interview, discuss diagnosis and treatment, discuss next steps in treatment, discuss the care plan for the day, those sorts of things.
That's what the thing. So, if you think longer than 5 minutes, would that 5 minutes, would that longer including those time?
Certainly that process, including the care team, would take longer than 5 minutes, yeah.
Thank you. After the order from the court, you let Miss Lee take medicine, correct?
You were administered medicine, yes.
Do you remember what the medicine was?
My recollection was that it was aripiprazole,
What is it?
Abilify.
Abilify. What Abilify does?
It is an antipsychotic medication used to treat delusional disorder and other kinds of psychotic illnesses.
What's the purpose you want to mislead, take, abilify?
The goal would be, ultimately, the goal would be to reduce your risk, the risk of something bad happening to yourself, for example, acting in a way that was dangerous. It seemed to me that you were at highest risk because you continued to have these fervent, false, fixed beliefs, and that sometimes this medication, in addition to receiving treatment on the unit, reduces the intensity, how strong those feelings are, and allows people to not have such strong feelings about these delusions, these false fixed beliefs, and allows them to be at lower risk and to be safer in the community. That was the goal of this particular treatment.
So your diagnosis, Miss Lee had a false belief. That's how she take abilify. But how can you make sure the symptom go away?
By clinical assessment.
If you can give some certain, means based on Miss Lee's case, what you expected Miss Lee act by that time?
To have less of a all-encompassing, strong, intense focus on these perceived slights that had occurred to you, to have less of a strong impulse to take action, to show everyone all of the bad things that had happened to you, and to be able to actually plan for a more functional life that involved, having interpersonal relationships, looking for rewarding activities or work, and being less both sort of distressed and focused on these specific perceived things that happened in the past that seem to both sort of impair ability to function and put you at risk.
What you very interesting back to that time? Did you ask Miss Lee about her litigation? Almost every day in court.
I'm sorry, let me just make sure I understand. Did I ask you, is the question, did I ask you every day whether I asked you about the court litigation?
Yes.
I don't recall.
You don't recall.
I don't recall.
But you had the knowledge Miss Lee filed so many cases.
Yes.
Did you have any plan to want to Miss Lee stop her litigation?
No.
No? Did you ask Miss Lee what about did Miss Lee ask her if you want me to stop litigation?
I don't recall.
Did you answer Miss Lee? That would be one of expected result.
Just now?
In the team meeting.
I don't recall.
In the team meeting, you don't. Did you? Well, I don't mean every day, but many days in the team meeting of many days. Did you ask Miss Lee how's going on about the litigation in court?
I don't recall.
Did Miss Lee ask back to you if you want to me stop litigation?
I don't recall.
Did you answer Miss Lee? That would be one expected result.
I still don't recall.
Never recalled. Did you treat Miss Lee as a human being
Objection.
back to that time?
Miss Lee, you're getting a little bit off point here.
I think it is reasonable. Okay,
Ask
let me ask another
treat it as a
question.
human being.
You grew up in U.S., correct?
Yes?
Do you know everybody has right to sue?
Yes.
And do you think use abilify could change human beings' idea?
No.
No?
The,
Then what do you want to change? If the Abilify does not change in people's idea.
He's already answered what his goals were for the medication, so.
Okay,
uh,
then back to specifically the case with Miss Lee.
He already answered specifically what he was looking for.
And even specifically, you did not answer.
You can answer the question again.
the same
It's
one.
the same question.
the goals of treatment with Abilify were to reduce the intensity and focus on persecution, to help you to be more likely to develop interpersonal relationships, to pursue enjoyable activities, to be at lower risk of harm to yourself as a result of this intense, fixed, incredibly focused concern about these perceived slights in the past. The goal was not for you to forget about them or to never sue anybody.
Do you know any medication, psychiatric medication, could change in people's mind?
When people have delusions, sometimes these medications can help people to see that there may be other possibilities for things that they believed. They become more flexible and open-minded in their thought process when they have disorders, like delusional disorder, and successfully receive treatment.
Like delusional.
Disorders. And they become more flexible in their mind.
But that's not my question. My question is, are there any psychiatric medicine could change in people's mind? I want to know yes or no. The answer means yes or no.
It's more complicated
Yeah,
than that.
it's not a yes or no question, so you don't have to answer yes or no.
Could Abilify change? Is Abilify this kind of medicine could change in people's mind?
Ms. Lee, he's already answered this twice.
No, but this one I want to answer yes or no.
It's not a yes or
It's
no
not a
question.
yes or no question. He's already answered it twice, and he's given a detailed explanation of what the goals are when you have antipsychotic medication. I'm not going to let him answer
Okay,
it a third time.
let's move on. Back to that time, did you ever concern about if one day Miss Lee could sue you?
I don't
Like-
recall.
You don't recall.
No.
And let's see. Back to that time, did you know Miss Lee still had several cases in court?
I don't recall. It's possible, but I don't recall. I
You
can't
don't
say
recall?
I can't say with 100% certainty that I remember that.
Did you ask the Miss Lee during the meeting time, how could Miss Lee dealing with a court issue because Miss Lee is in hospital,
I don't recall.
not able to go to the court?
I don't recall.
As a doctor, generally, it's not for Miss Lee's case. Generally, do you have have you ever concerned the treatment to a patient could cause a second trauma?
This specific question, have you
Yeah.
ever in your practice been concerned about that issue?
Yes.
Yes, could be. And in your experience, have you made any wrong diagnosis to someone?
Objection. Nothing of let him ask a general question whether he's ever made a wrong diagnosis. He's here as a treating physician for you.
Yeah,
and
but
he's not as an
but
expert
but
opinion.
this is linked to your background.
No, it's not. You don't have to answer that question.
It's to your experience.
It's not to his experience whether he's ever made a wrong diagnosis on a case that it's not this specific case. He's not your expert witness. He's a treating physician for you. If you want to ask him whether he made a mistake on your case, you can ask him that. That's fair. But I'm not going to let him opine about any other case that he's had over the past 10 years. You're not going to get there.
Okay, let's. Except mislead. Did any others file complaint against you? I mean, in the hospital, not in court.
Not to my knowledge.
Do you remember the people in your team back to that time when I was there? The people in the team.
Not well.
Do you know Dr. Nyquist?
Yes.
And now you remember, or now still not?
The question was, do you know Dr. Nyquist? And the
Yes,
answer
I do.
yes.
And do you know she's in the team when I was there?
I remember seeing that in the record, yes.
And do you know who's the other people, like the intern? That's a girl. Okay, like if you can list the people in your team. I mean, if you don't know the name, say the job. You are attending doctor.
Mm-hmm. Then there would be a psychiatry resident.
That's Dr.
Dr.
Nyquist.
Nyquist would be one of those, yep.
And
Social worker.
social worker.
Yep, I don't recall who that was. There's a nurse who, as you know,
Yeah,
changes,
rotate,
rotates.
yeah.
Yep.
But there's always someone like a student in medical school or some intern.
Sometimes there are medical students who are doing the rotations and are part of the team,
Sometimes.
but not always. It's-
And you did not know that's almost every day for Miss Lee's team.
It's certainly possible.
Did you remember there's a girl, her name's Sarah? As an intern.
No.
No? Do you remember there was a boy? After Sarah left, there was a boy called Kenneth. I don't know. Okay, thank
Sorry,
you.
no.
In the treatment, do you remember you suddenly left the team?
I rotated off the team, yes.
And do you remember who was a doctor after you?
I reviewed the record and I can't recall exactly. It may have been Dr. Vitolo or Dr. Jabbour.
What's the second name?
Jabbour. Jabur.
And do you know their diagnosis?
Not with certainty. I reviewed the record.
Let's see. This is marked Exhibit 8. And if you can tell what this is.
This is a note from Dr. Jabbour from November 3rd.
What's her diagnosis?
Multiaxial diagnoses, Axis 1, delusional disorder, PTSD, Axis 2.
Okay, I only need access 1. So, they diagnosed including PTSD. Did you diagnose Miss Lee PTSD?
I did not.
You did not. Okay. And this is marked Exhibit 9. Dr. Huffman, if you can tell what it is.
It's a note from Dr. Vitolo.
If you can see what is the Axis 1.
Delusional disorder, PTSD.
Thank you. So, these 2 doctors diagnosed PTSD, correct?
Yes.
But back to that time, you never believed Miss Lee suffered PTSD, correct?
I didn't believe that you had active symptoms of PTSD at that time.
But you said your diagnosis collected from multi doctors, which not including these 2 doctors.
Those doctors came after me.
Are you sure they came after you?
Those dates are after I rotated off service.
These 2 days after, but they still have a medical record.
My diagnosis was primarily based on my clinical assessment of you over the course of days and weeks. And my diagnosis was delusional disorder.
So, your diagnosis is mainly based on your own interview with me, your own contact with me, correct?
Ms. Lee, we've gone over this the first
Because you said something's different. Before, he said his diagnosis involved many doctors. But there are 2 doctors share different opinion.
My diagnosis was made primarily based on my clinical assessment and also included the information from all of the other doctors in the medical record that I had reviewed. It wasn't solely based on my clinical determination, but in the end, my clinical determination was the most important piece of all of the inputs into my diagnosis.
And you never found out your diagnosis was wrong.
Objection. Did you ever find out during the course of treatment with Ms. Lee that your diagnosis was wrong?
Was wrong from whom?
From you, because you never concerned about Miss Lee suffered PTSD rather than delusional disorder.
Right. I assessed you for PTSD.
Did you?
I did.
But your result is no, not PTSD.
No active PTSD symptoms, as stated in those notes.
Okay, if you can, this is Exhibit 10. If you can point out which place.
Which place what?
You said PTSD.
And for the record, you're showing him 1 page.
Okay, so
dated,
not on this page.
Correct.
But, okay, but I don't. What's the date? That one? Oh, the 11/10. This is Exhibit 11. If you can see, could be here.
If you see it on the 2 pages that have been
No.
presented of the entire MGH record, you're free to testify to that.
It is
question.
not on this daily note, no.
No, okay. But can I ask if you state PTSD in which part? If generally, because if I'm not familiar in the medical form, I only check here access
Yeah.
one.
I assessed you for PTSD and found that you had no active PTSD symptoms, so it would not have been listed on your diagnosis.
So your diagnosis, I did not suffer PTSD, correct?
Objection,
That's
that's
not
not
what I
what he said on multiple occasions.
Can you say again, please, because I did not
Sure.
understand.
Sometimes people have a history of a diagnosis, a
Mhm.
previous diagnosis, previous symptoms of a diagnosis. That may have been the case for you with regard to PTSD, but in my current evaluation of you during this hospitalization, I did not find you to have active symptoms of PTSD.
Did not find active symptom of active PTSD means Miss Lee did not suffer PTSD at that time, correct?
Correct.
But that means Miss Lee did not suffer PTSD.
Not true.
He's saying that there's a history distinct from active symptoms of a In other words, you could have cancer in your remote background but not be suffering from cancer at that point in time. It's called in remission. So,
You sound like a doctor.
But that's exactly correct.
Okay, thank you. But you believe I should be able to find some record about the active PTSD in the medical record.
objection.
Either no.
It is part of the diagnostic assessment is for PTSD and all other symptoms of psychiatric disorders. Each of those will not be listed encyclopedically in the medical record as part of notes.
Okay. Which means if you did not list it here, which means no such symptom, correct?
No active symptom. That's right.
No active symptom. Thank you. Back to the, let's keep this one. Exhibit 11. If you can tell your diagnosis, axis 1.
Axis 1, psychosis NOS, delusional disorder appears most likely.
That is your diagnosis back to that time. And it never changed.
I'm sorry, yes, sorry.
Your question?
Do you want him to repeat?
No, I just forgot to say yes.
He said, uh-huh.
And she wasn't able to get your
Yeah.
question because she was asking.
And your diagnosis never changed back to that time.
I believed at the time you had delusional disorder.
Never changed. You did not find anything.
You also had symptoms of what we would call paranoid personality disorder, which is more of a long-standing belief about persecution. And I believe that later in the hospitalization, I came to feel that you had symptoms of that disorder as well.
Did you write down somewhere in your memory? The paranoia or something?
Paranoid personality
Yeah.
disorder?
Yeah. Did you write down if you mean I should be able to find it
Yes,
in the medical record?
I believe so, yes.
Could that paranoia symptom disorder caused by language difficulty?
No,
No?
no.
So Miss Lee's language never caused paranoia.
Objection. You can answer if you understand that with regard to your treatment of Ms.
Yeah.
Lee.
My diagnosis was based on my clinical assessment of you, and language does not cause paranoia.
Language does not cause paranoia. Could language cause anxiety?
No,
No. Could language barrier cause delusional disorder?
could a language barrier cause delusional disorder? No.
Could language barrier cause miscommunication?
If there were a language barrier, could it cause miscommunication? Sure.
Could language barrier cause depression?
You're just talking in general here?
Yeah, in general.
If you know.
Yeah, I have no comment. I mean, I don't know.
You don't know.
I don't feel like, could a language barrier cause depression?
Depression. Sorry, I should say depression.
No.
Language barrier could not cause depression. Okay. I know. Because I repeat, I want to understand it. So, sorry.
You have to understand, he's being called here today as a treating psychiatrist for you. He's not here to render expert opinions or any opinions beyond.
No, but I still
Okay,
want to
okay,
ask
but,
some general general
Yeah,
question
and
about
I've let him answer those questions, but you're becoming far afield from the issue at
Okay,
hand. So-
let's back to. And you believe there's no miscommunication back to that time. Could I show part of tape recorder? I taped only 2 or 3 minutes.
You tape recorded
Of the
sessions
meeting.
during the meeting?
Yeah.
And you have those recordings in your possession?
Yeah.
Well, I would object just because the wiretap statute prohibits unauthorized taping of another person's statements, and also I believe that I requested any documents in response to requests for production of documents. and those
Because I
were-
did not submit this.
Yeah.
I only want to be easy to communicate with Dr. Huffman.
I would object, and I would go in front of a judge and say that that would be impermissible because it's illegal and without authority from a treating physician. So, no, I'm not going to let him
Okay,
comment on that.
okay, yeah. Thank you. Oh, can I ask you what time now?
Yeah, it is 12:16.
Okay, I think we better be finished in 20 minutes. Is that
Okay,
okay? Yeah,
let's press
thank you.
on.
Well, I try to. In the policy of the hospital, do patients allowed to ask a specific doctor? Or even,
I don't recall exactly what it says. My recollection is that you can ask for a change in a physician, but I don't believe you can request a specific one or a specific type of one.
so patients are allowed to change a doctor.
I believe that such a request can be made.
And also patients are allowed to change a nurse. Could it?
I don't have the policy in front of me. I would rather not answer. I just don't know the exact wording of the policy.
But do you really remember that a policy allowed patients changing doctor?
Again, I think you're right. It's best that I just not comment because I don't have the policy in front of me, and so I don't want to get it wrong.
Okay, suppose what you said right, then why I asked the remove Dr. Yurishenko out of my team, nobody responds to me.
I can't say. I don't know.
Generally, if a patient under your treatment, how long you kept them there?
Objection. You're asking a general question, how long?
Yeah, I want to compare to my situation.
How
I
long
only, yeah, generally.
How long an average inpatient stay at Massachusetts Inpatient
Yeah.
Psychiatric Unit is?
About 10 days.
About 10 days. 10 days suffered delusional disorder, could be killed in 10 days.
Well, that's a different question. You can answer that question.
It's not really about cure. It's about being safe to be able to leave the hospital. But 10 days is short for delusional disorder.
10 days is too short for delusional disorder.
No.
No?
10 days is on the short side for delusional disorder, but every patient is different.
I see. But did you know how many days Miss Lee stayed in the mental section back to that time, totally?
No.
You did not know Miss Lee stayed there 60 days.
No.
did you remember before how many days when you joined, when you attend for the second hearing, how many days Miss Lee already stayed in the hospital?
I don't know.
You don't know, it was 42 days
Is that-
already.
Is
The
that a
question?
question?
Yeah, I mean, if you
I don't know. I didn't know the number.
you
no.
did not know.
That exact number? No.
But, okay, suppose if a patient stay in hospital for 40 days and you still believe they need medical treatment, and how long the medical treatment would be.
It depends on the patient.
And back to Miss Lee's case, she stayed there already 42 days. Then how many days if you subtract the medicine?
It depends on the
If you
response.
subtract what?
If you
Script, I don't know how
Prescribe the
to
medication.
prescribe the medication.
prescribe the medication.
Yeah. It's impossible to know exactly. People's responses to medication are different, and so there's no way to know exactly.
So, so you after that just concerned about you did not know, you only subscribed, not subscribed, prescribed medicine for Miss Lee for 2 weeks actually.
Ms. Lee, he also, as you pointed out earlier in the deposition, rotated off of
Yeah.
the team.
No, but
So-
but it was your prescribed, correct?
Did you originally prescribe the medication?
I originally prescribed the medication.
And what's the plan? How long? I mean, how long you planned, if you remember?
There is no specific amount of time. It depends on clinical response.
But you have an expectation, do you?
Not a specific number of days, no.
No? But generally, if you have a patient, you just keep them and just wait, or you still have some plan,
In what circumstance?
like Miss Lee.
So, the first half of the hospitalization was waiting to get treatment allowed. The second half of the second part of the hospitalization was when treatment was authorized. But we had no way of exactly predicting how many days or weeks it would take to have an adequate response to the medications.
Thank you. Back to the doctor and nurse problem. So you knew that was this is exhibit 10 and your record. If you can read through this part.
We already read that part.
Yeah, but I
Okay.
want to ask some questions.
Okay, sure.
Only this part.
Okay. Or do you want me to read it aloud again? I've read it. I can.
Okay,
Do you
so you knew, you finish it? And what it means?
That you were focused on working with a certain nurse, and we discussed it, and it seemed that the current nurse was an adequate and appropriate nurse to work with you.
And did you do anything for this, I mean, how to say? Did you tell the Robin? Do you remember who's Robin?
Robin Lipkiss Orlando?
Yeah.
Sorry, Robin Lipkiss Orlando. Lipkis dash Orlando, like the city.
Did you tell Robin just separate some certain nurse to different group back to that time?
I don't recall having any discussion with Robin about the situation. I may have, but I don't recall.
And you did not know. Let me see. If you can tell, what's the date happened?
The date is October 29th.
Date October 29th. Thank you. Sorry. It's just the spam, so sorry. Looking for how the medical record. I cannot find. So, could Miss Lee ask a certain nurse is one evidence to show her mental condition?
Not necessarily.
And could the event Miss Lee asked a certain nurse show Miss Lee discriminated against others?
Objection, you can answer.
That you discriminated against others?
Mm-hmm.
That was never at issue, is my understanding.
That was never an issue. Do you remember after you left this team and on one time you come back?
Yes.
Do you know why?
Yes.
Do you know what was the reason?
Yes.
What was the reason?
To assess your readiness for discharge.
Only for that reason?
That's my recollection, yes.
Do you know Miss Lee ever filed a complaint to patient advocacy office?
I don't recall.
You don't recall? Could that be a reason you come back?
My recollection of the reason I came back was to assess your readiness for discharge.
Nobody told you because somebody accused Miss Lee. She say Miss Lee discriminated against others by choosing a certain nurse.
I don't recall that.
And no any office from patient advocacy come to ask you?
I don't recall anyone from patient advocacy coming to talk to me about your care at any point. They may have, I don't recall it though.
Thank you. Let's see, this is Exhibit 5. Dr. Huffman, if you can tell what it is.
Okay, this is you sent a letter to my home in December of 2008 regarding your hospitalization and a question about your diagnosis, I believe, about delusional disorder.
Yes.
This letter was sent in response, clarifying my diagnosis and specifically why rule out delusional disorder was listed as a discharge diagnosis.
Was listed as a
Discharge diagnosis.
So what was your diagnosis to Miss Lee back at that time?
Delusional disorder. Or more specifically, most psychotic disorder not otherwise specified, most likely delusional disorder.
What the difference between most likely delusional disorder and delusional disorder?
it meant that that it was clear to me that you had symptoms of psychosis, a false fixed belief, and that you had delusions, and the most likely category of those delusions were in a disorder called delusional disorder. As we've discussed, another potential diagnosis is this paranoid personality disorder, which shares many of the same features, has the same treatment, has the same, basically would have the same impact on your safety, but that the most likely cause of your symptoms was delusional disorder.
Is delusional disorder equal rule out delusional disorder? Same diagnosis?
Delusional disorder is the same diagnosis. The rule out delusional disorder suggests that there may have been other possibilities the person who wrote the discharge summary was considering.
But is rule out disorder is the same as possibly delusional disorder? Because your word always use
Most likely.
Yeah, most likely
Yes.
delusional disorder.
So the person who wrote the discharge summary was not me, so I can't really say what they were thinking in their own distinction between what they call rule out and what I call most likely. So it's very hard for me to say what they were thinking.
This is Exhibit 12, Dr. Huffman. If you can tell what it is,
It's the discharge summary.
if you can find your name somewhere.
Yes, so I was copied on, the discharge summary was completed by Dr. Nyquist. I was copied on the discharge summary, which means a copy was sent to me.
But what it means you did not sign is not your signature?
No, electronically signed Dr. Nyquist.
But Nyquist was only residency.
Yep,
Could it be signed by attending?
Dr. Nyquist
No.
signed it, yeah. The CC means basically that I got a copy and Dr. Jabbour got a copy, but that Dr. Nyquist wrote the discharge summary,
Literally, it means carbon copy.
the CC.
Okay. Yes, thank you. So actually, you think your diagnosis and Dr. Nyquist's diagnosis is a little bit different.
I can't say.
But you said, but rule out delusional disorder is different from delusional disorder.
He can't, he already testified that he can't opine as to
But-
another person's thought process
No,
for Dr.
but you
Nyquist.
said you cannot say yours and Dr. Nyquist's are different, which means same.
I don't know what Dr. Nyquist was thinking.
Dr. Huffman, this is Exhibit 6. If you can read through this part, please.
Okay. These are from your notes from
Yeah.
the trial? Because this says transcript, I just want to clarify, but these aren't actually, this isn't actually the transcript, these are just your
It's
notes.
what I say, my transcript, not the court reporter transcript.
Attending Garrity Hall, can you describe your diagnosis? Sure, I believe that Miss Lee suffered delusional disorder related to her perception of being discriminated both in past by her employer, Raytheon, and therefore by a U.S. court system, and they have declined her case for proper national and sexual discrimination. Attorney Garrity Hall, and your diagnosis, Dr. Huffman, delusional disorder.
So, thank you, Dr. Thomas. So, when you been the court, not the court, actually the judge came to the hospital. You told the judge, say, and your diagnosis, delusional disorder. Then, back to your diagnosis. This is your diagnosis. Can you read through this highlight, please?
Delusional disorder appears most likely.
Why didn't you tell the judge? Most appear most likely.
Sure. First, I'll just say that I'm not necessarily confident that that's an actual accurate reporting. There are some things in there that don't sound like things that I would say, like proper national and sexual discrimination. But second, I would say that if I had to give you a diagnosis at that time, it was delusional disorder. That's
But
consistent
you
both
did
with
not.
this.
Why did not you tell the judge? Appear most likely.
Because I was asked my diagnosis and I responded delusional disorder.
Then why didn't you write down here delusional disorder?
I was asked by the judge or whomever, the attorney, what my diagnosis was. My diagnosis was delusional disorder.
I mean, if it is delusional disorder, why didn't you write down here access 1? Just say delusional disorder adamantly.
Do you recall why you didn't do that?
I don't recall.
So you don't recall.
I recall that I believe that your diagnosis was most likely to be delusional disorder.
But you did not tell judge most likely.
Objection, if you recall.
I don't recall.
You never told the judge most likely.
I don't recall.
Do you want to listen to the tape?
Again, it would be the same objections, surreptitious recordings, illegal under the wiretap and against permission, without unauthorized recording.
That record is a hearing record. It is court admitted record, but because unless you want to, we can submit as evidence.
Yeah, it's your interpretation of the unauthorized recording.
It should be authorized if you want, because it was a hearing. Let me ask some general question. When you try to commit a patient, did you ever try to exaggerate your diagnosis? Exaggerate diagnosis, just try to push the judge. Commit.
Objection, I'm not going to let him answer that.
No?
No. That's not improper for a treating psychiatrist sitting here today. Whether he exaggerated, that's an improper question.
But don't you think delusional disorder is still different from delusional disorder appears most likely?
I'm going to let you answer that one more time.
Sure. If I had to give you a diagnosis at the time of the hearing, it was delusional disorder.
It was delusional disorder, but how your do you know how your medical record write down here?
Yes.
What it is?
He's already answered that about 4 times now.
But
This will be the
that
5th time.
plus appears most likely with some with some extra words.
He's already testified as to the qualification in the medical records. And he's already testified that at testimony he would say that your most likely disorder was delusional disorder. Let's move on.
Thank you, Dr. Huffman. Okay, let's see if we could end this. After Miss Lee taking the medicine Abilify, did you ask Miss Lee if she still want to fight in court?
I don't recall.
Did you tell Miss Lee if Miss Lee took the medicine, Miss Lee will reduce to fight?
I don't recall.
back to the exhibit 5. If you can read through the sentence, this from here, please.
In that note?
It is your letter.
Yeah, in the part that says in that note?
Yes.
That's the part. In that note, I stated that the patient's symptoms of delusional disorder appear to be vastly improved, again emphasizing that delusional disorder was the primary diagnosis.
What does the English word means vastly?
Much.
So Miss Lee's symptoms improved very much. And
You have to give a vote.
Yes, I'm sorry,
Yes.
yes.
And do you believe or do you think this is a result because of the medicine, Abilify?
Objection. You can answer.
Yeah. I think probably it was a combination of you were in the hospital now for, 60 days, having a consistent milieu away from the stressful situations that led you to come into the hospital in good care, plus the administration of medications. Probably both were helpful. I can't say which was more helpful.
Both would be helpful, and could that be without the medicine, Miss Lee could be healed by herself?
Is it possible that just with time in the hospital that your symptoms would have just improved?
Yeah.
It is certainly possible.
Certainly possible.
It would be more likely, in my medical opinion, that you would improve with antipsychotic medication for your delusional disorder. But
if Miss Lee did not take medicine, she still could
it's possible.
improve. Possible.
But I would say it's far more likely that you would improve with antipsychotic medications. That's the treatment of choice. That's the standard of care. That is what we would definitely recommend.
Dr. Huffman, if you can tell what this letter.
That is...
Okay, that should be exhibit. I probably need one copy. Oh, sorry, this one. This is exhibit 6, please. If you can tell what this is.
This is a letter from you to me, replying to that earlier letter from 118, where you...
He's already read from portions of this letter, so is there a specific question?
It is my letter, yes. If you can read this sentence.
Do you really think those Abilify had been into my stomach?
Do you understand what it means?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
What it means?
You are asking whether I think that you actually took the Abilify.
And now you understand. Miss Lee never took Abilify, actually.
Okay.
So, my question is, how accurate your treatment to make your result?
As I think I testified, that given 60 days in the hospital away from the stress of the situation, that it was possible that you could improve even without antipsychotic medication. Though I would believe that the antipsychotic medication had a far higher likelihood of helping you.
If Miss Lee could improve without medicine, then why do you think it's necessary to file a second hearing, get a second order?
Objection is already testified.
No, this is a new
You already
question.
answered that it's this.
Why? Because you don't understand my question.
No, I completely understand it, and you already asked it before.
No, this is a new question.
You just said that
I know my question more than you know my
Well,
question.
I'm listening to your question. He said it was the gold standard, the standard of care to prescribe antipsychotic medication, and that you're much more likely to improve based on that medication. But you can ask the question for a second time.
Now, if a patient could heal only on time, why didn't you just keep mislead them for a certain time and observe and without the drug? Did you never concerned about this way?
My job is to provide the best possible care for patients and provide them the standard of care. If there's one treatment, like staying in the hospital, that has a low likelihood of improvement, and another treatment that has a very high likelihood of improvement, I am going to strongly recommend the treatment that has the best possible likelihood of improvement and to reduce a person's risk. That's my rationale for recommending antipsychotic medication.
You're concerned about the best for patient, but have you ever concerned about the side effects about the medicine?
Sure.
What the side effects could be
Of all medications or...
based on the Abilify?
Sure. So it sounds like there were two questions. One question is, am I ever concerned about side effects? And the answer is yes, and that we monitor patients very closely for side effects in the hospital. And so that is something that every patient has monitoring for every day. The possible side effects of medications are many. Some people feel restless or stiff or have stomach upset or headache, and those are questions that we would ask people about every day.
Will you ask the people every day? And if you found the symptom, what would you do?
You would adjust the medicine. You might change the dose. You might change to a different medicine. You might lower the dose. There are any number of things that could happen.
I think today's deposition finished.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very,
Great.
thank you very much, Dr. Huffman.
The deposition is complete.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.